Thanks to RX Bar for supporting the PC Perspective podcast. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar with no BS. Get 25% off your first order at rxbar.com/PCPer and use the promo code PCPer. That's rxbar.com/PCPer, promo code PCPer.
Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective podcast. This is episode number 508, being recorded August 1st, 2018. I'm Allyn Malmontano.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Ken Addison.
And there's no Ryan. He's supposedly on his way back from traveling to yet another thing. He's just going to be a traveling man for like the next month or something.
At least.
So since he's ping-ponging all around, we'll just cover it this week. We didn't do one last week, right?
No.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It was just like, it would have just been me and not even Alex.
Nobody to run the show, as it turns out. Like that side of the show.
I mean, I guess I could have sat over there, but, you know.
I mean, people would pay to hear Allyn monologue for 90 minutes, I'm sure.
At the old office, I ranted for like an hour after one of the podcasts. And
Mailbag part 2.
it was kind of like an unofficial mailbag, just answering the chat. But anyway, so yeah, welcome to the podcast. Podcast@PCPer.com is an email address that I'm not sure if we ever check anymore.
No. I don't know why that's still on there.
But you should email it anyway, and then we'll try to get Ryan to check it. Should send like 100 emails.
I'm not even sure it goes anywhere anymore, to be honest.
I mean,
but you should find out.
Don't let that stop you.
Yeah, don't let that stop you.
Email it.
Yeah, exactly. PCPer.com/podcast is where you probably found this, unless you've just had it added in iTunes for like years and years, and I don't know.
They just keep showing up. I don't know why.
We're on episode 508. When you hit 520, they've been weekly, so that's like 10 flipping years worth. Holy crap.
Longer than that, but yeah.
Jesus.
No.
We started monthly, and then it was sort of bi-weekly, and...
So you're saying it's definitely been more than 10 years?
Yeah.
All right.
Now what? You know, I wasn't listening. I was talking to somebody who was in the company telling me some news. And what's going on for 10 years?
The podcast that you're on, the thing.
Oh, yeah, it was bi-weekly in 2008 when I started, because I started in January. But then about 6 months after I started, it became weekly because Ryan wanted more money to pay me.
So it started in
January.
my
God.
Started in January 2008, huh?
The bi-weekly
Well, I mean, just
podcast,
the podcast.
audio.
Like episodes
And then
before
that summer,
Oh, no.
that summer we went to video. He sent me a webcam. I upgraded my internet.
The worst mistake ever.
That upgrade worked out so well.
So good.
Can we just go back to audio?
Good way?
Yes, please.
Go back
Well,
to
because the nice thing was, when it was Len, Ryan, and I, we just did it, recorded it, and then it went up whenever the hell we felt like it. Just like, you got some time to spare tonight? Yeah, sure, you got half an hour, let's do it. Done for a month. Oh crap, it's Wednesday, am I going to get home in time? Oh my God, The lifestyle now.
Okay. Yeah, so let's get the show on the road. Twitter.com/PCPer, Twitter.com/Ryan Shroud. He usually has internet on an airplane, so if you tweet at him right now, you might get him on an airplane.
I bet he's probably pretty bored.
He's probably doing some typing of something, whatever. Where is the spam list thing? Spam list thing podcast.
Dude, we only talk about the spam list all the time.
Well, I know.
You not have this in your brain burned?
No, I was looking
flesh?
for the
It's
tab.
such a complex URL.
I was trying to find the tab.
The tab.
Yes.
As in like these 70s Diet Cola.
To show,
Yeah, we don't sell tab
to
here.
show the people the site. See, there you go. It's PCPer.com/subscribe. Give us your name, your email address. We'll let you know when we're about to live stream pretty much anything. Most of the time it's just a podcast, but
I wonder if there's going to be any live streams in the next 3 months.
There might be lots.
I think PC hardware is just stopping after like this month. So, I mean, everyone's on vacation. No one's going to do anything. So it's probably going to be pretty quiet.
Yeah, very quiet. There's no Hot Chips. There's no Gamescom or whatever the hell it's called. Or,
Nothing.
It's crap.
Okay.
NVIDIA ain't invading my neck of the woods. Nothing.
Next up, patreon.com/PCPer if you want to help us keep the lights on and stuff. What do we got next? Oh yeah, we did some mailbags.
You did some mailbags,
We did
huh?
some mailbags. There was 2 of them since it's been a couple of weeks.
That's Ryan's. That's the wrong mailbag.
There's Ryan's mailbag.
I could tell because it's freshly shorn.
I did a mailbag where I was
there you go.
demonstrating the size of. Never mind.
That's the mailbag with the laser treatment.
The laser treatment. Okay.
Yeah, laser treatment.
Lasers.
Laser? Didn't you get laser treatment?
I did. It didn't really work.
Well, in the fine print, it says not for use on Italians.
Did you bring his shoes with you?
Oh my goodness, he's purple. It's not even red this time. It's just going straight to plaid or something. Oh man. Merch. We got a Teespring. Well, actually, what's the actual URL for the merch?
JoshTech.com.
JoshTech.com.
Oh yeah. JoshTech.com.
With 2 Ks.
With 2 Ks, just like this spelled right there.
Look at that beautiful Josh Tech print.
That's
Only $20, and you too could hang it on your wall.
It's behind Josh's head. His purple little head. Yes. Josh's purple little head.
Yes, it is behind that as well.
And it is veined.
All right.
And he was cut.
Let's get into the dang reviews and get this thing over with. EVGA before it gets any worse. EVGA SuperNOVA 650 watt G3 power supply. Is it supposed to mean like it's the 3rd version of this? I guess.
I think that's just a model name.
Well, the original ones were G2.
What happened to G0?
According to Lee, I don't know if there was a 0 or a 1. Anyway, modular power supply from EVGA. Big surprise. 650 watt runs $110. Pricing's pretty reasonable on all those for good power supplies. The lower power models up to 650 watts carry a 7-year warranty and then a 10-year for all the higher ones. Pretty good. It's been a while since I've had a power supply fail.
Yeah, no doubt.
What do we got for, what do you think of these things? I assume it was good. They're usually good from EVGA.
Outstanding would be the quote.
Lee gave it Editor's Choice. Wow.
Yeah, for the ripple and noise, it was outstanding. Voltage regulation, as you'd expect. It blew straight through 80 plus gold. 92% efficiency, I believe, puts it in platinum territory, which, is decent. And he shares the same complaint I do. Why do you make 24-pin ATX connectors modular? Are you going to run a system without it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, people like changing cables to like custom length and custom sleeve cables and stuff.
This means you can't replace it with RGB cables. This is a good thing.
Lame.
I mean, I'm okay with the CPU power cable being separate
But
from
how
the
much,
ATX.
I know we always talk about the modular connectors do increase resistance,
Yes.
but on a 12 volt, 5 volt, 3.3 volt rail, does it matter that much when you have all of the power load going through different rails?
I mean,
Does
Gonna
it
go with probably not.
there still is a voltage drop across the extra connector, but it
Yeah.
has feedback, so it's kind of moot,
Yeah. So, does it really matter in the end?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I for one will bitch about anything. I mean, just give me a topic and I can find a complaint about it. But this just seems,
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason they go fully modular when they do it is just the whole cable aftermarket thing, sleeved cables and everything. Because if they're fixed, then okay, now you can't just order that replacement set of cables. You have to sleeve them yourself.
Can.
No, you can't. If they're, I mean, you
break out the
can.
soldering iron.
You're gonna,
Just
yeah,
break
you're
out
gonna-
a soldering iron.
Just don't lick that capacitor while you're doing it.
yeah. I don't know. I see the.
I'm not going to tell you how to run your life or end it.
Okay, what's up next? Corsair Crystal series. Wait a minute. Oh, I know why I've seen this before. We talked about it on Twitch last week.
We don't read our website.
Well, that too, but I was talking about it also. I don't usually just sit there at my desk and just start talking out loud to myself about all of the reviews on the site.
You know.
Listen, Ken, just because you do. All right. Sebastian reviewed the Corsair Crystal Series 280X RGB tempered glass Micro-ATX case. This was kind of like towards the back of the pack from my reading of this.
I don't know, but Sebastian's so dreamy.
Well, yeah.
That thick hair, those piercing blue eyes.
I mean, it's a sharp-looking case. It's just that between the tempered
Those
glass...
photography skills.
Yeah, well, there's that.
There is that.
Between the tempered glass...
Oh, his cabling skills, too.
Well, yeah, he's got that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to like about Sebastian.
You guys. Anyway.
It's kind of small, if you think about it.
Yeah. How purple is Josh now?
I'm only chartreuse.
Okay. Just plum. Even though it was at the back of the pack, like the spread is not very wide. Right, Josh? How purple is he now?
It looks bigger than it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Looks a lot wider than it is, actually. Yeah. Man, I don't know what's up with his color on his camera, but there's no way he's actually that purple right now.
No, I'm not that purple.
There's just no way.
Yeah, his camera's coming through a bit red.
Okay.
That's not even funny.
It is
It
now.
never is.
Anyhow, the RGB is controlled by the new Corsair IQ application, which I think controls all your things now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Corsair keyboards, mice, all the RGBs in your case, that sort of stuff. Pretty cool. Case is $160 though, so that's on the high side.
Yeah, that's too much. I think there's a non-RGB version that's a bit cheaper. I don't remember how much.
Yeah.
You just don't get the RGB fans. I actually have the previous version of this case for my system at home, the Air 240. I actually really like the dual chamber design. It's easy to build in, but still being kind of relatively compact.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to really worry about cable management. As you saw, you can just kind of shove everything in the back quarter, half of the case, whatever, and have a clean front view. But of course, it has tempered glass on both sides on this one, I think. So you're still going to see your cable miss.
So then you just have to bring Sebastian over so he can wire it all up for you.
Yeah, I think he offers that as a service.
Yeah.
Sebastian,
don't
He's
ask him
inexpensive.
Just don't ask him to do dual processors or...
And
That's a
supply your own
specialty.
harnesses.
yeah.
That is supply your own harnesses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you fix my color? Seriously, it's
That's not... you're the one with the white balance, man.
yes.
Yes, there you go.
Fixed it for you.
Cyan looks much better on him.
Yeah. He's underwater.
Yep.
Now he's cyanotic. It's okay.
Okay. Next up. No, Ken, I'll just let you run with this one.
That's a dangerous thought.
Mhm.
So we've talked about this for, I don't know, it seems like months now on the podcast, mentioning it on and off, but I finally posted my review of this, the 51NB ThinkPad X210. Now, people who might know their ThinkPads but haven't listened to the podcast might say, but Ken, the ThinkPad X210 never existed. And
Sure
I say,
didn't.
You're right, until now.
And yet there it is.
Thanks,
Right in front
China. So again, for people who haven't heard about this, it's essentially there's this like weird community group in China that's doing custom motherboards for ThinkPads, and they've been doing it for a while. They've gone through a couple of different models. If you scroll down, I have the list in there somewhere. Like a lot of iconic ThinkPad designs. Scroll up a little bit.
I'm looking.
Let me just pull up the review on my screen. That'd probably make more sense.
You got me digging around for... Okay.
Yeah, like the
need a better
X60
drive,
and
Ken.
X61, the T60 and T61, just some of the iconic kind of post-IBM ThinkPads, but still retain things like the 7-row keyboard, which is really nice, and sort of the old chassis design and the ThinkLight, and just the classic sort of ThinkPad.
The nipple. Don't forget the nipple.
The nipple's still around, but they have
Not
the dedicated buttons for the nipple. And there's this third-party community making drop-in motherboards that add modern processors to these chassis. So the one that I was most interested in is this X210, which is based on the X200 and the X201, which is the 12.2-ish, 12.2, 12.4, something like that, ThinkPad from about 2009, 2010.
That was Ryan's workhorse for the longest time.
Ryan used these for a long time. He used the several generations of them. And I always I like the form factor, the 12-inch screen. It's built like a tank. You can add a 9-cell battery on the back. So the idea of having an 8th gen quad-core processor in these really kind of stuck in the back of my head when I saw this. So I decided to go through the process. There are 2 ways you can do it. You can either order the motherboard and processor combo off of some pretty sketchy ass sites like Taobao and try to figure out how to import them into the US. Or you can deal with, there's this company called LCD Fans who deals exclusively through a Facebook page and email. And they will essentially acquire a new old stock chassis, install one of these motherboards in it, do all the modding for you. There's a little bit of drumline you need to do to the case to get the standoffs and stuff to fit, and ship it to you as a bare bones configuration without storage, without RAM, but everything else ready to go. Wi-Fi, processor, heatsink, all that stuff. So I wired about $1,000 to China.
To a guy on Facebook.
Just to a random person. Mm-hmm. And eventually, about a month later, I got this laptop and I started to take a look at it. It's a weird thing. Getting this laptop that seemed essentially brand new from China, but I knew was old. I don't know.
Yeah.
I installed a 512 gigabyte 960 Evo in it. It has an M.2 slot. It also has a SATA connection, 32 gigs of RAM. Kind of decked it out to see what we could get out of it. Ran some performance benchmarks and severely disappointed, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the box,
SSD was doing something weird there.
Yeah, I didn't.
We know it doesn't normally do that. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily look into
power
that.
management.
Yeah,
potentially.
So out of the box, it's towards the slowest of any of the 8th gen U series quad core CPUs we've ever tested.
Yeah, but it's in a form factor that you can't get that in that.
Well, this form factor originally shipped with 25 watt CPUs. This was before Intel introduced the 15 watt CPUs. So in theory, the thermal management solution should be able to handle this.
Right.
So Allyn and I started doing a bit of digging. We ended up tearing it apart and applying liquid metal instead of the really just crappily applied.
It was pretty
thermal
bad.
paste.
Do you have that picture?
Yeah,
there you go.
That's how it shipped to me. Not great.
Yeah.
So we took it apart, put some liquid metal on it. I ended up undervolting it a bit. Still never really got the performance to where it needed to be. So then I kind of cranked up the turbo frequency and I got it to be competitive with a lot of the modern 8th gen laptops. However, it was immediately hitting 100C, sort of the thermal throttle point for these notebooks.
Yeah.
But using Intel's XTU utility, you can kind of tune whether you want it to be more aggressive with the clock speeds or quieter.
Mm-hmm.
Once we had it liquid metalled and in the stock configuration, it was actually a pretty quiet machine. The fans didn't necessarily spin up until you were at 100% for a while. But yeah, the other disappointing thing was battery life. Oof. So I installed a 9-cell battery in it, a new third-party 9-cell, because the Lenovo original parts are very difficult to find at this point.
Right.
And it got just above 5 hours on our battery test, which is it's a web browsing battery test at 180 nits screen brightness.
On the 9-cell battery?
On a 85 watt hour battery. Not great.
So what's that Dell Inspiron 137373? How many watt hours is that?
I don't know. Much less. It was it was like a 3-cell, I think. I don't remember the exact amount, but yeah, it's really.
I wonder if that battery.
It's not a capacity issue. It's really a.
You think it's just blowing through is it just running hot all the time, basically?
I just think that the BIOS isn't properly tuned and mostly seems to be kind of a test reference BIOS.
Yeah.
That you have access to all of the options, and actually someone ported one of the open firmwares to it recently this week, like Open Boot or whatever it's called. I forget exactly what the name is, because it doesn't have any of the protections. You can flash whatever firmware you want to it. It's essentially a development platform that somebody's shipping. They're engineering sample CPUs, which isn't legal. It's a very strange thing. As much as I wanted to like it, I don't think it's for me. I really need something with more battery life. So,
wait, did you just say they're shipping engineering samples?
Oh yeah, they're shipping engineering samples.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is sanctioned.
Okay.
In any way.
Just making sure.
I mean, probably not illegal.
Coreboot is the name.
Nothing suspicious to see here. Move along.
Probably not illegal in
But
China.
that's kind of a pretty laptop, though.
is.
I mean, if you can handle the poor battery performance and a little bit, warm on the legs, that's such a classic design.
It is, and
and the keyboard feel is
it's amazing.
Awesome.
I didn't want to give it up. There actually
And the heat is a feature. That's so you can make ramen while you're working.
Well, he lives in Ohio. He can go to Wisconsin and really utilize it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention is, so it has a 16:10 display, which is obviously something you don't see anymore. And this actually has an upgraded display option. It's a 1900x1200 display, which is an option that never shipped in this notebook. It was kind of a third-party display that people have retrofitted into it, but it looks damn good.
Yeah.
16:10 is still an awesome screen aspect ratio, as it turns out, even though we've gotten away from it.
I use those every day, and I never want to get past it, but unfortunately, I will eventually.
Yeah. So there's a lot more detail in the review. This is going to be my plug. As I mentioned in the review,
How much are you selling it for?
I will sell it for what I have in it. You don't have to wire money to China. Just send me an email and we can work something out if you're interested in this notebook. I know people don't want to wait 4 weeks to maybe get something from China, and this isn't exactly the right laptop for me. So if anyone's interested in it, seriously, send me an email and we'll work something out. But beyond that,
did you guys go through some interesting BIOS updates and advancements through that you could do a little bit more tweakability?
Honestly, every friggin' option in the BIOS is there. You could do a ton of tuning if you actually know what you're doing and you weren't me. It's essentially a development platform. Every single option is unlocked. It's incredible to look at the BIOS. And actually, they've been really fairly receptive about BIOS updates. So when I received this machine, it didn't have, or sleep didn't really work. When it tried to wake up from sleep, the display wouldn't turn on because it's a EDP display that they've kind of hacked in. It supports LVDS and EDP displays, and just kind of wasn't working right. But like a week after I got it, they released a new BIOS, and sleep works now. Amazing! I never would have thought that to be a thing. For
better third-party support than a lot
of
of
actual
manufacturers.
laptops. Yeah, since it's a very dedicated community behind this, who they're not making a whole lot of money off this. They do it because they want it and because other people are interested in it.
Yeah,
it's a really cool thing.
Sweet.
So there you go. It's something that I don't think you'll see anywhere else because no one is stupid enough to import one on the whim. But
Ken,
yeah.
I love you for doing this.
Oh, thanks, Josh. I had to know. I saw this about 6 months ago first, and I was like, it just kept thinking about it. I'm like, I gotta know what this is like. This could be the perfect laptop.
The itch.
Yeah.
I appreciate you scratched it. Now for sale at eBay at www.ebay.
JoshTech.com.
Yeah, throw a sticker on there.
Should get some silver markers, autograph that, sell it off.
If I was keeping it, I was going to laser engrave it, but I'm not keeping it. So.
All right.
Next up, Sebastian reviewed the HyperX Pulsefire Surge RGB gaming mouse. HyperX don't even call it Kingston anymore? Like, what?
No, it's like Aorus. I mean, yeah, it's GIGABYTE, but
okay.
Yeah, it's their gaming peripheral brand, I think.
Okay. So, sharp looking gaming mouse. Probably not a lot to say here. Yes, it has RGBs.
How could you have a mouse without RGBs?
Uh,
They're using Omron switches, which is nice.
Of course, the photography is amazing.
Yep. The PMW 3389, like every other mouse out there.
So I guess this software controls the mice and the headsets, maybe? From Corsair? Or Greg from Kingston?
I don't know exactly how their
I don't know.
their system works, but yeah, I imagine.
Well, I
it
wouldn't be
controls all the
surprised because
peripherals.
they've also got the RAM with RGBs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian gave it a gold award, $70. Not bad.
I would like to note that the ads have moved past what they were 2 weeks ago.
No more lemons strapped
Organic
to
protein.
things.
Has
No.
Josh
Now
been
it's
on our
organic
Amazon
protein.
recently?
Probably. All right. Let's see. Moving on. Hey, the ad disappeared. Interesting.
Speaking of,
Oh yeah. What's next up is an ad that will be inserted by Ryan once Ryan has returned. He's not back yet.
it's a hell of an intro.
Wow, Alan, the enthusiasm just oozes from you.
I'm sure
The energy-
that
He must be
Alex is
low
just
on
gonna cut all
energy
that
and
off
needs
anyway.
some sort of RX bar or something.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about testosterone cream?
No, I'd rather do the RX bar probably.
Hey everybody, Ryan Shroud here, stepping in to thank today's podcast sponsor. This would be our new friends at RX Bar. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar made with 100% whole ingredients and no BS, as they call it. That means 100% whole ingredients, very few simple, clean ingredients. For example, they talk about using egg whites as a main source of protein. It's also easily digestible. They'll ship them to you. We got this 12-pack here to sample it. Here I've got one of these peanut butter chocolate ones. It's very upfront about what they're giving you for the main ingredients in these bars. 3 egg whites, 14 peanuts, 2 dates, no BS. RX bars are gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, no added sugar, no artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, fillers. They are great tasting with a variety of flavors, 11 different flavors, and I have sampled 6 of them so far. They've all been really good. I know protein bars typically have a pretty bad rap for understandable reasons. These are very good. And I find myself coming in, if I didn't get breakfast at the house, I'll have one here. If I'm leaving for a flight, I'll take one with me or I'll put one in my bag because sometimes you just never know. You won't be able to get to eat lunch when you're on some of these work trips. Whether you like sweet, savory, chocolate, or fruit flavors, there is an RX bar option for you. Real food ingredients actually taste really good. Like I said, ideal for breakfast, snacks, thrown in the bag, post or pre-workout food items. You can get their offering to our viewers and listeners at least 25% off of their first order at rxbar.com/PCPer. Use promo code PCPer. That's rxbar.com/PCPer. Promo code PCPer. And we thank them for supporting our podcast, and we hope you check them out. Thanks, guys.
You can say something like, "Thank you, Ryan, for that invigorating commercial." We now continue with our news, which starts with the GTX 1170 rumors.
And that's exactly how it's going to be, because I'm not going to say anything else. And we're just going to go on to the rumor.
Oh, I guess I can get rid of my dummy laptop now.
Yeah, get rid of the dummy laptop.
Yeah, get rid of that damn thing.
I'm an idiot. I bought a Mac.
He bought
Get it over
another,
with
Ken
it.
bought another Mac because he doesn't
Shocking.
have enough abuse in his life.
Well, as it turns out, I have lots of access to PCs, but none to Macs. So if I'm going to pay for one,
Yeah, we're
is it
trying to
running
wean you off,
100
but it's
megahertz
not
now,
working.
Ken? Is it hot?
Yeah, I did. For the record, I didn't buy this MacBook until they patched the thermal issue, and it works pretty well now.
Yeah.
I would not have done it otherwise. I'm not that stupid.
I'm just going to cross my fingers for you that keyboard works next week.
Well, that's what warranties are for.
Yeah. So, rumor. GTX 1170 benchmark scores supposedly leaked. They seemed like a little too hard, they seemed over the top compared to what I would have expected out of an 1170. I think, weren't they beating a 1080 Ti? which just seems
okay. This is fake, but I think this is a good time for us to talk about what we might expect, because I think I made it to the next news article is about the NVIDIA event they announced.
Well,
at
then let's go to
Gamescom.
that one while we're talking.
Just to bring up the 11 series is kind of why I put that in there. That did not seem like a real leak at all. It was
It's too good to be true for that. I don't see an 1170 beating a 1080 Ti.
and like the physics score doesn't match the CPU really. Like it's not going to be running at 2.5 gigahertz core. I think we can pretty safely assume that.
Right. Anyway, so you want to talk about the Gamescom thing at all, or no?
Yeah,
there's going to be a thing, right?
Yeah, they sent out an event, actually a public event invite, so you can sign up. There's an Eventbrite link in the article. They're just saying an event at the day before Gamescom, where they'll be loaded with new exclusive hands-on demos of the hottest upcoming games, stage presentations from the world's biggest game developers, and spectacular surprises.
All right.
So it sounds like we're going to have Jensen on stage in Germany, which you could make some assumptions about what they might be talking about. I will say that Ryan and I will be there.
I'm sure they'll have
I can make assumptions about what he's going to be wearing.
I'm sure they'll have Tom backstage.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know anything, so I can say this. This is probably going to be new graphics cards. I have no inside information, so I feel free saying that.
This is probably...
This has to be it.
I couldn't imagine them not at least talking about graphics cards.
This wasn't it. I don't know what the hell they're going to talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, we've seen a couple other rumors, and one of the weirdest ones that I saw, and this was sort of part of the emails going around to people being invited, and they sort of mentioned, we're leading with the 1180, and there'll be an 1170 coming out and 1160, but towards the end of September is going to be the 1180 Plus.
Yeah, there's that weird...
What happened to TI or TI, depending on how you want to say it? And was that the reason they changed it? Because everyone says plus the same way.
I feel like you could still have a plus SKU than do the TI, because the TI usually comes 6 to 8 months later. Like
Absolutely.
So they could have a plus that's maybe, I don't know, I would say more memory, but I don't know why you would need
that was the same thing I'm thinking too. Well, because of our wonderful, brilliant commenters that are constantly screaming about how we don't do proper memory measurements, and then every time we do, it doesn't come close to filling out the amount of RAM on an 1080 right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can totally see it, and then we'll have this huge thing where 1 megabyte of the RAM will be slightly slower than the rest of it, and it's just going to go all over the place again.
I mean, Josh, you might have some insight on this.
I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think GDDR6 will be so limited that they might release like an 1180 as maybe like a 6 or 8 gig card and then release a 16 gig card pretty soon?
No.
I wouldn't think so either.
No. I mean, GDDR6 is just an evolution of GDDR5, and it's not like a huge jump like HBM memory was, which had issues due to just how hard it was to not. The memory itself was not hard to manufacture, but there was not as much demand, so they didn't manufacture as much, and then integrated it all in with the big old GPU. It was problematic.
Yeah.
It was an extra step. It was extra money that you really couldn't absorb easily for the performance that it gave. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big HBM2 fan, but in terms of just price, I think the GDDR is still... It's going to be the way to go. And, Micron has been doing GDDR6 for the past 7 months, 8 months now since they announced, and they've been ramping up. So I don't think memory is going to be an issue. I mean, NVIDIA is not a dumb company. They're not going to say, well, we only have enough GDDR6 for 10,000 pieces in between the 1170 and 1180. So we're just going to do it right now.
Right now.
No.
And we'll charge double Titan prices.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, and here's some prognostication. How about on the professional level? Do you think with the next generation of professional cards coming out, they might consider delving into HBM2?
I mean...
Even a thing?
They kind of already have with the Quadro GV100. So
yes.
I could fully see that. I guess it would depend on what architecture they're going to use for lower end quadros. If it's going to be Volta, there were some leaks of like GV 104, 106, I think, recently, or if it will be the same Turing rumored that the gaming stuff will be based on. I don't know. It's a lot in the air. We have SIGGRAPH and then Gamescom. I think we're probably going to get some announcements soon. We finally won't have to guess.
Then hot chips.
Yeah. Do you think that presentation's actually going to happen?
Which one?
The one that got pulled from the schedule completely? Do you think they're just actually going to give it?
There's no telling.
Because I think the NVIDIA event at Gamescom is the same day that the hot chips talk was scheduled.
Is it?
I thought it was the 20th.
Maybe they'll sneak it in.
Yeah.
Just to, to keep people on their toes.
Oh, wow.
There's a dog howling in the background.
All right. Next up is actually Josh.
What if I don't want to talk about it, Alan?
Well, you do now. You just
I've been talking a lot so far, and so far I haven't said anything of interest, and this certainly will not be of interest.
It won't be?
Maybe.
I mean, really?
Do you like cheap motherboards?
Who doesn't like cheap motherboards?
Do you like pointing out errors on slide decks?
We do like errors on slide decks.
That is actually my favorite.
AMD, because there's some doozies on this. It's got
How dare you say
USB
something
3.0. Oh, it's supposed to be 2.0. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I'll jump into this because, well, I wrote it. AMD released the B450 officially chipset. Oh, and B450 chipset officially yesterday, or yeah, it's on my birthday. No, but none of you bastards ever said happy birthday to me, but
we didn't want to fill you with false hopes.
Okay, well, anyway, I made it this far. I can handle, being ignored. But anyway, AMD B450. It is an extension of the B350, but with a couple of changes. They've improved the design. Whether they did different manufacturing, it's about 2 watts lower TDP than the B350. AMD is really pushing this to make near enthusiast class motherboards under $120. And so you'll see pretty well stocked up stuff from $60 up through $120. The things you're going to have to look out for if you're attempting to overclock is, how they handle the power phases, because there's been some interesting developments with people, like GIGABYTE, ASUS, and other guys saying that, hey, we've got this, 8+3 power phase, and then they really take a look at the chips involved, and it's like, no, it's like a 4.43. It just is. Got to be careful, but
thank God for BuildZoid, keeping everyone honest, because no one else looks at the VRM layouts that much. That's a very specific niche, and he nails it.
He does, and he did a good job kind of exposing some of the marketing involved. But it's got most of the features of the top end X470. I mean, it's got all the USB 3.1 Gen 2, Gen 1, USB 2.0, SATA 6. All that kind of connectivity. It's got like 6 lanes of PCIe 2.0. It's a solid chipset. It's everything you need if you want to do single GPU. Now, in these motherboards, it's not allowed to bifurcate the CPU by 16 into 2 by 8. Not officially. They may put other chips in there to get around that with some SKUs, but again, it's not official. Otherwise, they have to go through the South Bridge, and your second GPU will be a PCI 2.0 by 4 connection. So it's going to be slower, going to have issues if you really want to run Crossfire. I don't think SLI will be applied to any of these, but at least with the X470, SLI is certainly, supported. Again, lower power, got all the features, lower price. And so this is what, AMD is really aiming at is to give you a product that you've got a pretty solid motherboard that's going to be from $60 to $100 for the most part. You can put in any AMD CPU in there, and it's going to run at stock speeds without a problem. You're going to have to, really work on overclocking because, well, the Ryzen 2000 series still doesn't overclock worth being. So you're going to have to really tweak to get anything out of there.
But at least you have the option on like B360.
Yeah. But it's a solid product. You can do memory overclocking. I mean, the official of the top Ryzen is 2933 megahertz memory, but you can easily just take that to 3200 and get a pretty significant boost all over, because not only is your memory faster, but the interconnects between the CPU cores, the CCX it's all faster. So you might as well do it.
They're comparing
these things are very positive, and AMD still has an advantage in terms of price performance and price per core over Intel. So when you add in, a $70 motherboard that does everything you want it to, that's significant savings. So the B450 is a nice chipset at the right time. It's kind of the old 970 for AM3. It's got pretty much all of the features that you want, especially if you're running a single GPU as the higher end 990.
I like how they compare it to the Z370 here.
Scroll up.
But then they
scroll up. They're comparing a Radeon or Ryzen 5 2400G to an 8600K. That's not really close.
Not so much.
Like the i5 is going to win in both CPU and gaming performance.
Well, the thing that they're really talking about here is that you've got 4 cores, 8 threads, but you also have integrated graphics that can do, for the most part, 1080p. And your 8600K is going to give you less graphical performance.
Yeah. They're using,
even though you have, 6 actual cores.
Yeah. Allyn, they're using Z370 motherboards because that's the cheapest one you can overclock, and they're using unlocked parts.
Okay.
Which is valid, absolutely. Like it's a major advantage AMD has and something Intel should do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the slide right here doesn't look that great for Intel either. Like, here's all these parts that we sell that are unlocked, and Intel and their silly
although
market
they mentioned the
segmentation.
A320 chipset, which I don't think anyone has ever seen.
Not really. It's like an OEM only thing, and it uses all pretty much the I/O from the CPU.
Yeah.
So
that's why in brackets underneath it says in memory only.
Yeah. There's just a selection of the motherboards.
That looks like you got some Micro-ATX boards there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. No, we have a Asus ITX board in, I believe.
Is that the one that's on the top left?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's a good looking board.
Yeah.
And it's got everything you kind of need to do single GPU and have the I/O that you want. I mean, they all come with one by, NVMe slot that comes out the CPU. So ITX it's going to be a cost-effective thing. And how many people do you think overclock ITX?
Not a lot.
That's an interesting question.
Not a lot, because you're so space constrained that airflow is an issue. So neat.
All right.
And speaking of that, GIGABYTE spewed out a couple, including a mini ITX, 2 Micro-ATXs, and 3 ATXs.
All right.
And we're nice enough to sort of give a naming scheme that makes a little bit of sense.
Oh, you mean they're not like, whatever, just rattle off a bunch of letters and numbers each time?
No.
No?
No. So there'll be the extremes and masters, and then the ultras, pros, and elites for gaming level, and GIGABYTE gaming, which is, mainstream sort of stuff. It helps a little bit.
Yeah.
As opposed to, just slapping random names on it. But that is the most important part right there that you're looking at, is the pricing on these things.
It's pretty good pricing.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They got so close, and then they named one the DS3H.
Yeah. It's
Come
let
on,
them-
guys.
They can't completely get away from it.
Guess which one's the tiny one?
Yeah.
So do you pronounce that Daesh? And does it make ISIS really angry?
I hope so.
I don't know.
That's some reaching there for me. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of motherboards, but on the other side of things, Z370 apparently is compatible with some newer Intel stuff that initially I think we thought might need a new platform, right?
It's like a month ago on the podcast I posted this question. I was always of the mind that these new, in theory, 8-core parts would work with Z370 because Intel would see so much shit if they didn't.
That's true.
And MSI is kind of confirming it here. There have been a lot of Intel leaks recently. In the past 24 hours, there have been 4 different roadmaps that have leaked that have talked about upcoming Intel CPUs, the 9000 series. As far as we know, there's going to be an i7 9700K, which would be an 8-core not hyper-threaded part, and then the i9 9900K, which would be the 8-core 16-thread part. This handy table from MSI shows what BIOS version will work with these Z370 boards, and they're just saying 9000 series processors.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, they don't list like the H or B, like the H360 or B360 part motherboards that were released, I don't know, in March or April. I'd imagine they'd be compatible too, maybe not with the 8-core parts because of VRM stuff, but
Yeah,
at
it might be
least
a
with
VRM
the
issue.
lower end sort of, what are we calling this? Coffee Lake Refresh?
Yes.
Is that what it's
is like
called?
the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've decided to be honest for once.
No. All right.
And as you're mentioning, part of those leaks were the new motherboards and chipsets, and only the Z390 was announced. So the chances of a brand new socket the next time you want to upgrade are less than they were the last couple of generations, which is kind of nice to see.
I mean, we're getting our typical Intel 2 CPU generations per socket thing. Where they go from here is a whole nother question. If they actually try to be pro-consumer and let you use yet another generation. For
what are they doing now? The
first time ever.
Charleston?
Yeah.
Like, we've got off the TikTok and the waltz. I mean, I don't know what they're doing at this point, but
Exactly.
do they?
No. Nobody knows. Next up, a case for PUBG. Look at that thing. NZXT made a case that looks like what are they called? The things that drop.
Loot box.
Is
An
it just a loot box?
airdrop.
Airdrop?
Something like
I
that.
had to look it up.
Yeah, it's
And as I mean, the naming scheme, just like Josh pointed out on the last one, is a little bit unfortunate because I'm sure CRFT is supposed to be craft, but second I read it was cruft. That's just not
the best.
good.
how much is this case? They're only going to make 2,000.
well, It's $200 as long as you bought it already, because there were only 2,000 of them made.
Oh,
10% of their sales goes to Gamers Outreach, which is kind of a nice bringing gaming laptops to underprivileged children as opposed to educational laptops. So we should all be behind this.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But this is the start of a new series coming out from NZXT. So they've announced the Craft 1, which is this one. Craft 2 will be towards the end of this month with no real information about it. Craft 3 will be a third case sometime this year. But they also reached out to me to mention that it's more than just these cases. It's going to become a new line for NZXT of limited edition, interesting looking products.
All right.
God only knows what lines they might reach out for, and if they'll stick with a charity thing, which I hope they do. But if you really want this sort of a thing, keep an eye on them because they're very limited edition, and they're based off, like, this is the H700. So people have seen this before plenty of times. It's just fancy.
So you're saying they're already sold out, or
Yes.
I expect so.
I mean,
I would be shocked if they weren't.
I kind of like the idea of like limited edition PC stuff because we don't really see that a whole lot. It really depends on like where, like how many they supply as opposed to demand. Like if they're sneakers and how sneakers are and they sell out in half a second after launch, it's pretty stupid.
the
but
button is still there.
you can still pre-order it. But
Oh.
yeah, like if you can like if you can get it within a week, like yeah, absolutely. Like limited edition stuff is cool. Like apparently nobody really wants this one, but
No, I'm sure
I don't know when it actually went up.
Just
on
maybe
pre-order.
not 2,000.
Yeah, just wait till the Fortnite one goes up.
Oh, yeah.
It comes with a hat.
All right. So that's done. Next up, AMD second quarter results.
Sure, that's
Financials.
nice.
Drank your beer, Josh.
AMD made some money.
That's nice.
That's good. They needed to
so
do that.
Nice for AMD.
Yeah.
You know, apparently they made 1.76 billion this quarter, which is up from 1.65 billion last quarter.
Wow.
And their net income rose up to $116 million. And you'll be, impressed by AMD because that's very un-AMD like for the past 6 years or so. They really have not had a quarter like this since 2011. They've done very, very well for AMD. I'm not trying to talk down their accomplishments because this time last year, they reported something like 1.1 billion in revenue and a loss.
Yeah.
So in between, releasing Ryzen, getting some initial sales going, and then consistently increasing their quarterly performance quarter after quarter, they're now at a place where they're profitable, and that's something that they haven't seen in a long time. Now, they're starting the ramp up of EPYC. The big ramp is going to happen kind of in the second half of this year because, server chips are a different breed of animal. Guys like Dell, HP, and, Lenovo, I guess, they do servers, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They take these parts and they do a lot of work on them, and they make sure that everything runs, and they make sure that everything is stable. And they work with, like their virtual machine partners to, VMware and the other guys. I can't remember their name.
Citrix?
No, they don't do VM, do they?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else does VMs.
They may have. Anyway, they do a lot of work, make sure software support is there, make sure all the hardware is running like it's supposed to, because nobody wants a cranky server. Nobody. And so, it takes a little bit longer to get server parts out there. And so they've been selling them. We've seen a slightly larger bump in Q2 with EPYC than we had seen in previous quarters. And again, they're expecting a larger ramp throughout the rest of this next year and going into next year. I don't know if we want to talk about too much of this right now as compared to the Intel stuff, but AMD is already sampling 7-nanometer EPYC parts, which are codenamed Rome. And we expect to see those in around the first quarter of 2019. And this is a very, very positive thing. Right now, AMD is relying on TSMC for 7-nanometer production for both Rome as well as the Vega 7-nanometer stuff that they are going to release here in Q3, Q4. It's going to be one of the first 7-nanometer graphics parts, but it's not for consumer use. It's going to be for machine learning, AI, that kind of data center type stuff. Next year, we're going to see Navi. And that's going to probably be 7-nanometer, but we don't know who from. Either it's going to be TSMC or Global Foundries, who's a little later on their 7-nanometer process. But AMD has done very well. They had really, in the past couple of years, shaved down their operation enough that they could exist on low margins, very low revenue, and still be able to develop new products. And we have now 2 generations of Ryzen, the first gen Ryzen, and then the 2000 series that were released this spring. And they're doing well. The sad kind of thing here is that they haven't grown as much as people were hoping. They're making a profit. They're doing well. but they don't seem to be taking the market share. And part of that is because this is not the Athlon 64. Athlon 64, when it was released, was head and shoulders above better than what Intel had. It was what the original 3200 Plus was a 2.2 gigahertz product, and it outperformed a 3.2 gigahertz Northwood Pentium 4 processor. It was just head and shoulders better. I mean, it was lower TDP, fast memory support, gaming was better. Everything was better with Athlon 64 as compared to Pentium 4. And then, this is now just competitive. I mean, it's a huge jump up from Bulldozer, but it's just competitive with what Intel has. Some areas it does better than Intel. I mean, they have a better price performance in terms of multi-processor support, but their IPC is not quite there with what Intel has. And so they have a competitive product, and they're eking out more money per quarter than what they had before. It isn't the slam dunk that Athlon 64 was. And it certainly wasn't the slam dunk that Opteron was when they ended up releasing that. So, it's a different market. It's a different company, but they are doing well with, 1.76 billion in revenue for this quarter. And we expect to see flat for the next quarter. So around that same amount. And then hopefully Q4 we'll see a little bit more. But 2019 looks to be a lot more exciting for AMD because of things that we will cover in the next story.
Speaking of that next story,
It's already out.
Allyn wasn't paying attention.
I was just waiting for Alex to switch to the laptop again, but he had to switch to me.
Well, Allyn, if you're not paying attention, I'm totally going to cut back to you.
Of course.
I mean,
So, Allyn, what do you think of AMD's results?
I think when you look at Intel's results, it kind of makes me feel bad for AMD still, even though they are doing better. But holy crap. Intel 17 billion in revenue, 5 billion net.
Yeah, because think
so
about
10
it.
times the revenue.
Okay, 10 times the revenue and a significant amount more.
Yeah, that's 5 billion net compared
profits.
to what was it, 100 and something million?
So I think I figured it out that AMD, of their revenue, they made 6% profits as compared.
Yeah.
And Intel with their 17 billion, they made 30%,
Yeah.
30 some odd percent.
That's just nuts.
I mean,
That's
they're
just crazy.
okay. AMD had 36 or 37% margins. Intel is 61.5%. It's just 61.4. Sorry, but it's ludicrous how much money Intel makes. So here's AMD. They're a scrappy company. They've got a good product. They're starting to roll out their EPYC stuff, but oddly enough, in between Q2 of 2017 and Q2 of 2018, the regular PC market at Intel grew 6%. And they didn't take anything away from AMD. AMD grew itself, but that means that the PC market actually grew significantly over the past year because everybody has been talking since nearly time immemorial, at least since like 2012, that the PC market was dying. Well, guess what? The PC market still has no signs of dying. And then 6% growth for this group over a year where everything was, dark and horrible and these things are going to fall off and we're going to have more mobile stuff and really ultra mobile rather than desktops and laptops and that hasn't turned out to be the case. The demand is there, and Intel seemingly took more of the new market that opened up than AMD did. I mean, AMD did well, and they've done well historically, but Intel was just gangbusters. I mean, 17 billion a quarter in revenues for I mean, it's just they just keep growing and growing. It's record revenue, and they've got the margins. And even though they have, 4 mega fabs that they have to, support and pay a lot of money for, I mean, they're still getting 61.4% margins on their products. So that just kind of tells you where the market's at and where Intel's at. And I mean, AMD's got a competitive product, but they haven't yet dethroned the king. Now, I did talk a little bit more about some of the things they talked about with their 10 nanometer process. 10 nanometer so far is essentially broken. Charlie Demersion and others have talked about this pretty much ad nauseum. It just doesn't work. And so they pulled people off their 7 nanometer process work, and they're trying to fix 10 nanometer. And in this conference call, they talked about second half to 2019, they'll actually introduce 10 nanometer parts. By holiday season, there will be products on the shelf using 10 nanometer. And that's hopeful. And what this does, because AMD is already sampling 7 nanometer Rome parts, and we expect them to introduce 7 nanometer desktop and mobile parts in the first half of 2019. They have anywhere from a 9-month to 12-month window where, can you hear that?
We can.
Yeah.
Children, I can't take them anywhere. Anyway, they
always find their way back.
Yep.
Yeah, they do. It's like, I sweep for breadcrumbs, but obviously I'm missing some. But anyhow, no, AMD has a significant window of opportunity to take up much more market share and to sell a lot more products and to be able to maximize their earning potential due to Intel's manufacturing issues. And we're not going to see Intel 7 nanometer in 2019. We're not going to see it in 2020. It may be a 2021 part. Now, take this all with a grain of salt, because what TSMC calls 7 nanometer is closer to what Intel has with their current 10 nanometer and what they're hoping to be their improved 10 nanometer next year. So it's going to be an interesting time, and I think AMD is actually going to take some market share, and they're going to have some, 1.8 billion and above revenue, and especially if they start getting into the data center, like they're hoping to with their Rome processor, which is a 7 nanometer. It's going to be very dense. It's going to be much more power efficient, and overall performance and IPC is going to be about the same. Their density and the amount that they pay per die is going to be more efficient than what Intel is able to offer with their 14 nanometer plus or plus that they're hoping to introduce. Design is still important, and Intel has an advantage there. Just the amount of IP that they got, the amount of R&D, the amount of people actually working on this stuff. But physics can only go so far. And, somebody's got a better process technology, they can do more things. And plus, we've got Zen 2 coming out next year. It's going to be looking like a really solid, nice growth year for AMD. And it's going to come from the unhappiness of Intel, that they're going to lose some share just because, unless their Ice Lake and some of the other Xeon stuff can really compete with what AMD has to offer, they're just going to lose out. People will buy elsewhere because it's a better value for what AMD has to offer. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, throughout 2018, Intel is going to have record quarters. Q3, Q4, record. But come Q1, Q2, I think we're going to start seeing some cracks appear. And if they don't get their 10 nanometer process down pat, then the pain is going to last a little bit longer than the second half of 2019.
So, Josh, I got a question for you.
Okay.
You were touching on how Intel's 10 or Intel's 14 is equivalent to TSMC's 12. Or is there any way we can take Yeah, well, we're launching on 7. We're launching on 10. 10's delayed. Now we're on 12 plus. Is there any way to put all this stuff on a level playing field and say, this is apples, this is apples, this is apples, and compare it straight across the board so we know we're talking about the same thing? Because if we have 7 shipping and 14 shipping, you know?
Yeah, no, it's the confusion is there because it's all marketing terms. If you actually dug into process technology, you would understand how incredibly complex it is. It's not an easy fix to do. I mean, we're talking materials, we're talking litho, we're talking, you know, self-aligning quad patterning type stuff. I mean, it's just it's incredibly complex. It's almost like alchemy. You know, add a little bit of this here, this there, and suddenly something works, and we have no idea why. That's kind of process technology, and eventually they study it enough, and they're like, okay, well, it's because this interacts with this in this way, but it doesn't always work that way. And so, you know, Intel had a roadmap. It's like, well, we want to integrate this. We want to integrate, you know, gallium oxide, and we want to do cobalt instead of copper in the last 2, you know, metal layers because it has, you know, different physical effects, and we should, in theory, see better yields from this because there's not going to be any electromigration and blah blah blah. And suddenly you put all these things together that sound great, and it just doesn't work, and you really wish it did. And in theory, you're looking at all of the data around you. It's like it should work, but it doesn't because nature is never. I mean, it's a harsh mistress. Yeah, it's physics is a bear, especially when you're getting into these such small dimensions.
Yeah, because when
strange
you're talking,
things
you're talking
happen.
10 nanometer litho is what, like 30 atoms wide on the traces?
Well, I mean, okay, if you're talking 10 nanometer, I mean 10 nanometer, yeah, but it's of course larger than that with a lot of the stuff, and so it's, you know, again, there's marketing involved, and the dimensions. I mean, there are some that kind of coincide with 10 nanometer. It's goofy, but yeah, I mean, we're not quite to the, you know, things are 30 atoms wide, but we're getting damn close. But you know, you're dealing with so many layers, you know, so many different oxides, and you're worrying about doping of materials, and it's so complex. And I mean, it takes billions of dollars, and it takes thousands of engineers, and it just takes millions of man hours to get these things going. I mean, it's not simple. I wish that we could all kind of understand. It's like this is PFM. This is pure freaking magic that these things even come out and work.
Well, I mean, we tricked rocks into doing math. This is all magic.
Yeah,
it really is. You made sand, and it can make 3D worlds. I mean, it's magical. It really is. But, you know, Intel's got some stumbling blocks in front of them, and they've got a lot of issues. But, you know, it's a big company. They have experienced problems before, and I think this is going to be a speed bump for them. And it's going to be interesting to see if AMD can kind of keep up the steam and keep their pedal on the foot on the pedal. And, you know, make themselves, you know, a 20 to 25% market shareholder. That would be awesome for AMD. And as it is, I mean, Intel owns like essentially 90% of the market overall. So, you know, this next year is going to be interesting to see what AMD is able to do. I mean, they're going to get their 14 nanometer or 12 nanometer EPIC, whichever one they're using for that, and see if they can get some, you know, I think they're expecting single-digit percentage, you know, takeaway of market share just with EPIC. And so Q3 and Q4 are going to be very interesting to watch from AMD. And Q1 of next year is going to be extremely fascinating, especially if they can get out by the end of this year 7 nanometer EPIC. And I think Q2 is probably going to be when we expect 7 nanometer Ryzen 2. I mean, not Ryzen 2000 series, but the true Zen 2 architecture.
All right.
Have I talked enough? Because I felt like I talked enough.
You talked enough to wrap up the news.
Shaving cream.
So there you go. I guess that leaves us with picks of the week.
It does.
So I guess I'll take Ryan's spot. And so a few months ago, there was an announcement of DLC to Star Trek Bridge Crew, which if you've messed with any of the VR stuff, is basically just a VR version of Star Trek where you actually you're on the bridge of various starships in the Star Trek universe. And they recently announced, hey, we're going to make a next generation one, which I thought might be pretty cool, since that's one of the relatively more recent.
Look at the L cars.
Yeah, there's L cars and stuff.
How much is the green alien lady download?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's in the original series bridge.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah. So that came out, I think, last week. The DLC came out. And people have been playing it. I actually need to sit down with it again, mess around with it, because it looked pretty darn cool. So I need to check that out. It does cost money. It's like $15.
What's the original game cost these days?
I don't know what it is now. I think it was like $50 when I got it.
It can't be that expensive anymore.
Don't be surprised. Because,
Steampower.com. Let's see. Star
Kinda gonna
Trek.
look it
That'll
up.
probably only turn back one. It's $40.
Oh, it's 40
Plus
now.
the $15 DLC.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a bundle for $50. So,
Yeah.
there's that at least.
Yeah, they'll weasel the extra $15 out of me.
With the Star Trek brand being weaseled for money? What?
Yeah, I know, right?
In recent years.
Next up, Jeremy.
Well, I mean, wait for the sale, but I had to do this because I can actually pull a Josh.
He has one.
I like
You have
big
to put the camera back to him.
Yes. This cooler is
Nice.
great.
It's within arm's reach.
We have a lot of
It
those
is.
in the office.
Well, we have this one specifically.
Is this
Yes.
the Threadripper edition, though?
Oh.
We put that in our server.
Yeah, this is a U14S. So for those of you who, I mean, maybe my head isn't necessarily a good measuring, this is the size of the box.
Dude, you actually got
That's
it.
true.
Oh, yeah.
You got the Threadripper.
Yeah, I'm slowly picking stuff up. Everything I've bought, except for this bastard, has been 40% off or so. Apparently, this never goes on sale except down to its MSRP of $79. So, yeah, I decided to pick it up because, I mean, the Corsair stuff looks interesting, but now I'm adding pump noise and, the fact of a horrible failure. And frankly, I just like air coolers. It's 165 mil clearance. So you're going to want to shop around for a good case.
Yep.
It's not going to fit in the vast majority of cases that you want. I just picked up a giant Roseville case that can actually fit 2 PSUs in it because
Why not?
why not? It's the first non-NZXT case I've bought in years. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've apparently got to pick up the second fan, and I hope I'm not making Maury jealous that my cooler might be a bit bigger than his is.
At least the cold plate.
Well, the cold plate's definitely bigger. The mating surface is something else. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Next up, Josh with the cool pick.
Me? I don't even know what I picked anymore.
I don't know what you picked anymore.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, what we talked earlier
I'm surprised
about
this is your pick.
in my misspent youth that I bought one of those 101 type electrical kits from Radio Shack, and we made like buzzers and flashing lights and other, you get a whole booklet of stuff that you can make out of this, kind of pre-done circuit board and power supply, and you got 100 different wires, and you change it to resistors and caps and whatever, and you can do, all kinds of projects. Well, this is seemingly the next generation of this. It's the Super Starter Kit for Arduino. You get the Arduino board, you get the the breadboard. You get all kinds of resistors.
Kids these days
and-
get the best toys.
That's
yeah,
not a
no
bad
kidding.
price.
I mean,
tell you what,
bloody hell.
that price is way cheaper than that 101.
yeah.
kit
I mean,
was.
35 bucks is nothing
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
And what's-
You can
it's
do
got-
all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, it's got the base. It's got a couple shields. Looks like it's got a range
Ultrasonic
sensor.
sensors.
I mean, hell, that Arduino's probably got as much brains on it as most of the old Titan missions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Never
I
need
mean,
more
that's,
than 8 bits.
that's really cool.
Relay.
Yeah, it
temperature
is.
sensor.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
motor.
multiple breadboards.
35 bucks.
Shit.
You get a
That's
remote
display.
control. You got a lot of stuff, and you
servo?
get a manual and figure out how to build stuff, and
They
you can
threw a
start.
freaking servo in there.
And from the looks of it, the case it comes in can actually be used as a build thing.
Yeah, you could probably do that.
You can Dremel anything.
Yeah,
It's true.
That's cool.
yeah. I mean, for
Neat.
35 bucks, that's
Thanks, China.
nothing.
Oh yeah. All right.
Good call, Josh.
Thanks.
I might have to add that to my cart. Except not on this laptop.
No, that's my account.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Add to cart.
I had it on Ken's Lenovo.
Next up, Ken.
So there's this company called HD Fury, and they've been around for like 10 years at this point. And what they do is they break HDCP, which is helpful.
Legally?
No, not legally. I've looked at their stuff a couple of times over the years for different, like streaming capture stuff we've needed to do, and they're always pretty expensive. And you could find alternative methods. We'll say like the one monoprice HDMI to DVI adapter we have that seemingly ignores HDCP. So there are always other ways you could do it, but they've really come a long way with stuff like this. This is the Vertex 4K 60. And what this is essentially a magic box that allows you to do whatever you want to an HDMI stream. So you plug your input into one end and output to another, right? It has actually 2 inputs and 2 outputs you can use simultaneously, all at 4K 60 hertz. So it's got an FPGA in there with a lot of bandwidth, and you can upscale anything, you can downscale anything to anything, you can set whatever ED-ID you want, you can clone ED-IDs off of other devices, you can inject HDR metadata.
Jesus.
So, like, one of the things I bought it for is we have the Leo Bodnar HDMI input latency tester, which is great, but it only goes up to 1080p. It's HDMI 1.4. It only goes to 1080p.
Yep.
He isn't really planning on building another one. However, with this, you can test 4K 60
And
HDR latency because this doesn't really add any latency.
Yeah. It might have an extra scan line worth of latency
Yeah.
or something, not like a whole frame. So
How much does this monstrosity cost?
It costs $350 from them. Monoprice is also a retailer of it, and I put the link in the show notes as a second link. They have open box for, I think it's $200 every once in a while, and when I happened to find this and kind of Google around for it, they had one in stock. So I bought an open box for $200. You can put your email address in there, get notified. The Windows software is actually pretty good for something like this. Like, it's well laid out. You get all the options. They say they'll be able to support HDMI 2.1 and all the features through a firmware update, so VRR. I have not been able to pass FreeSync through it. That's one of the things we're kind of trying to do. But in theory, it should support the actual HDMI 2.1 VRR standard. It
Sounds like they've built some capability into that in terms of just raw processing performance.
Yeah.
That is yet untapped.
Yeah. Again, this isn't
They
something
built
a lot of
some
people
stuff
need.
into it to ignore all the crap that's been overlaid on top of the signal.
Yeah. This isn't something a lot of people need. This is actually like their highest end product. They have other products that can, like, let's say you have a receiver that only supports HDCP 1.4 and you have a Blu-ray player that only supports HDC 2.2. This will magically convert between HDCP protocols and just let it work. So, a lot of stuff like that. Like, if you have older equipment that has limitations with bandwidth or something like that and you need to do something, like, this box can help you. It's got a really nice OLED display on it. It's like, it's remarkably well built.
yeah.
It's just like a high quality device that
Can you throw it through a window and it'll survive?
I think so.
Maybe.
This company's
Cool.
been
You
sued plenty of times and somehow is still around, so I don't know. But they are like the masters of all this manipulation, HGPC breaking stuff. They've been around forever. Yeah.
So it's PFM, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, this would be
Awesome.
like totally illegal in Canada.
It might be totally illegal here.
No, it's totally legal up here.
Oh.
Well, we don't have no. What do you guys call that insane thing down there?
DMCA?
Yeah, that's the one.
What? How could you not have a DMCA? Actually, so in 2016, they won against Warner Brothers in a lawsuit.
So not just like settled or dismissed, but won.
It seems so.
Holy crap. Curious to know like what they actually won there.
Yeah. So Warner Brothers dropped their lawsuit.
Sweet. Probably because they were about to set a nasty precedent.
Yeah.
That
so
would not have been good for
I
the industry.
don't understand how it's not infringing upon something, but
It's
It's hard to prove if you can't figure out how they're doing it.
it's the right to convert. Well, that's specifically what that thing's doing is converting formats. It's format shifting.
It's black box in there, baby.
Yeah. So
They have no clue.
it's an FPGA and a microcontroller because when you update the firmware, you flash both. So yeah, like it's just a fucking FPGA. Like you can't prove a whole lot necessarily. Like,
Well, but not just that. I'm just saying, like it's it's legitimately it's format shifting.
Yeah.
Format shifting is like the essence of
yeah,
like the whole ways around DMCA. It's like,
Yeah.
look, I'm trying to shift it onto this other device. Like, what are you gonna do?
Wait. So I'd be arrested for shifting it from like PAL to NTSC?
No. That's what that's format shifting
And how is that different
legal.
from?
Yeah, format shifting is the workaround. It's the legal workaround.
It's when you get rid of that copy bit.
Well,
Yeah.
you're trying to format shift to get it to a device that may not be able to have that, like may not be able to handle that.
Well, then you get into the whole bypassing
How did they
encryption
reverse
thing.
engineer that?
Well, I don't know.
Sort of thing. But yeah, it's cool.
It's black box, man.
Yeah.
It's a helpful thing for us to have around. People won't generally need it unless they have a specific application, like having an old receiver they don't get rid of, and they just like need to pass one device through. It's expensive, but it could be cheaper than a new receiver. Look at the open box one. $200 is actually a pretty good deal for this. 350s. I probably wouldn't buy it for $350 unless I really had a project I needed it for. But,
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I like my ancient Kenwood box.
Exactly.
It's back before they actually started to suck and make car stereos and everything. It's decent.
All right. I guess that wraps it up. PCPer.com/podcasts, where you'll find the show notes with all the links to all the stuff we just talked about. I mean, I guess that's it. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. And with that, I say good night, and hopefully Ryan will be here next week. I'm not even going to say hopefully.
No.
No.
Okay.
It's going to be a Nassau.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Thanks to RX Bar for supporting the PC Perspective podcast. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar with no BS. Get 25% off your first order at rxbar.com/PCPer and use the promo code PCPer. That's rxbar.com/PCPer, promo code PCPer.